This is Film Trigger.
Derpy Gaming says, hello, friends. I'm here for quality content. Well, you came to the wrong channel. There we go.
Not very good.
The fact that it's George Clooney's Batman.
So by that logic, George Clooney is the best live-action Batman we have ever got.
If Justice League 2 isn't announced in 2022, I will shave my head bald live on air.
Streaming from Studio 47, Film Trigger's Drive-By News begins now.
What up? What's up, fam? Hello, everybody. What's going on, Sethimus?
Not much. Not much.
Draven, the man, the myth, the legend, the man in front of the curtain, and my partner in crime today, Monte, is stuck at work, and Ramon is probably sleeping, or he'll chime in randomly, drinking a Red Bull and shouting out nonsense because he decided to stay up all night. As you know, Ramon is, or as if you don't know, Ramon is in London, and ever since we moved London, England, and ever since we moved the time up to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, he's like, that's just a hair out of my range. If I can make it, I will.
Yeah.
It's like midnight or 1 o'clock over there or something.
Yeah, it's late.
So anyhow, you have Seth, you have me, we have you. Please let us know your thoughts of anything, any questions you have, any concerns in the comments below. But on top of that, if you're driving and you want to hear us and you're listening to us in podcast form and you want to give us a call, you can right now at 740-527-3447. Now listen, I'm not going to leave this thing up all day because I've started noticing this line is a private line. Like, it doesn't go to my phone. It doesn't go to, it just goes to the computer, which I have hooked up to the internet here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting messages. I'll get notifications in my emails that somebody just sent me a voice message, and I'll check it. And people are sending me voice messages for Film Trigger when we're off air. This line is only open when we're live. So if you call when we're not live, you're just going to get a weird voice message, and I'm not going to call you back. So just keep that in mind. But the line is open right now, and I'll leave this scrolling just for a few minutes if you feel like giving us a call, or I'll bring it up every now and again. But Seth, let's change the mood here, shall we?
We should do that.
Let's see. How's that one? Is that one good?
Yeah, it's good. A little loud, but it's good.
Well, I'll turn it down. It's something I can hear. All right.
I don't know. I like this music though. It sets the tone for just like a nice conversation. I've always liked it.
It does. You just want to bring in your bedroom voice and say hello. Hello.
Light a candle.
This is weird. This is a weird conversation I have with a kid. All right. So we have plenty of movie news. We're ready to jump on it. Seth, are you ready to talk about some stuff?
I am.
Okay. So it's kind of a mixed bag of things. I didn't really, for some reason, I usually organize things in sections like DC, Marvel, others. But now the way I did it today, I just kind of like randomly put shit everywhere. First thing we're going to talk about is the director of Obi-Wan Kenobi came out and made a statement saying that Obi-Wan Kenobi is like Joker and Logan according to the director. Now, what does that mean exactly?
I don't know.
Well, let's break it down a little bit. Here is Deborah Chow's exact quote that she had. Is that music still too loud?
I think it's a little loud, yeah.
Yeah, let me turn it down a little bit. There we go. There we go.
That's perfect.
All right, so Deborah Chow came out and had a quote, and she says, I think I was most excited about getting the opportunity to do a character-driven story. In a similar way, it's a different tone, but something like Joker or Logan, where you take one character out of a big franchise and then you really have the time and you can go a lot deeper with the character. So to me, seemed really exciting to get to do in Star Wars. Well, there you go, Seth. So now, obviously, when she says it's going to be Joker, Logan-esque, it wasn't like, that dark sort of storytelling. At least it could be. We don't know. I assume it wouldn't be. But what's your first thoughts on reading Deborah Chow's quote here about how she's handling the Obi-Wan franchise or TV series?
I mean, hearing that it's similar to Logan is good. I think that's a good comparison. That's probably what I would have wanted from this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. My excitement for the past couple weeks has been kind of dipping for this. Like honestly, at this moment, I'm probably more excited for Stranger Things than Obi-Wan. Those started the same day. Yeah, those started on the same day. Of course, I'll watch Obi-Wan first because it's only 2 episodes. But like, I don't know. It's just something about it is just. I think it's because the shows in Disney have disappointed me so much in the past that I don't know. It's hard to get excited for me.
Have they disappointed you that much? I mean, are they
Yes.
that bad?
They're not
Really?
that bad. They're just that disappointing. Like, especially
Like
Boba
Hawkeye?
Fett. If Boba Fett, if we're talking Star Wars,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because for years the 2 things that I've always wanted are a standalone Boba Fett project and a standalone Obi-Wan project. And I was like, oh wow, we're getting both. And then Boba Fett came out, and I was like, uh-oh. So, I mean, it looks good. Like the trailers have been really good, so hopefully it's good. We'll find out next week, though.
Well, wasn't there? Now we're not going to talk about what they are, but wasn't there some sort of spoiler that came out for the for Obi-Wan that we talk about that Wednesday? Listen, without
The
going
whole
into
show leaked. Yeah.
Oh, did it really?
Like all the information. I haven't read all of it, but yeah.
So reading, but you have read some of it.
Yeah, little things. Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to go into that, like what it is exactly, but
Right.
did that bring your excitement up or down?
Down.
And why?
I don't know how to say why. Okay, yeah, no, this isn't a spoiler. This doesn't dive into spoiler territory. It almost sounds like they're not focusing enough on Obi-Wan. And that's
weird.
Concerning to me. Yeah.
That's weird, especially with her quote here.
Yeah.
A character-driven story.
It sounds like the story revolves around Obi-Wan, but you're not always focused on Obi-Wan. And I don't like that. Like, who knows? Maybe we'll watch it and be like, wow, this was the way to tell this story. That was perfect. But just reading it, I'm just like, not sure if I like that very much.
Well, those leaks, man, they can be misdirecting as well, but unless it's like the entire script, like you may have suggested. I don't know if it was, but
no, it wasn't like a direct script, but it was really specific information from each episode. So like,
oh wow,
yeah, I didn't, huh?
I was about to ask, any good cameos?
I mean, depends.
Depends. It's a yes or no question. You don't have to say what the cameos are, but yeah, it's some pretty good cameos.
I guess, yeah, sure.
You can tell me backstage. All right, so Obi-Wan Kenobi is in the light of Joker and Logan, according to the director, Deborah Chow. And again, like what she said in her quote is that it's not going to be, like a character study like Logan and Joker are, but it's going to dive just into the character-driven story. So, to be honest with you, that's kind of what I already expected. It's nothing new to me. I just think using the word Joker and Logan is very clickbaity. Well, Joker and Logan, well, shit, now I'm going to watch it. But that's either a genuine, that's just kind of how I'm looking at this series, or maybe it is going to be a terrible series and they're just using clickbaity terms like that to get you interested. Who knows? We'll find out. Hopefully it doesn't suck, because we've been waiting for this since the 70s.
15 years. 15 years ago was when Revenge of the Sith came out. Actually, I think Revenge of the Sith just had its 17th anniversary.
Oh,
so 17 years.
17 years, and we finally got it. Isn't he? Is it Ewan McGregor? Isn't he like older or the same age as the original actor that played Obi-Wan right now?
He's getting there.
Yeah, he's pretty close. But
I want to look this up now. How old
it's pretty weird how people, you look at 50-year-olds in the 70s and 50-year-olds now, and it's just two completely different species of human.
Alec Guinness was 62 when the original Star Wars came out. How old is Ewan McGregor? 51. Okay, so they're about 10 years apart.
10 years apart. Okay, well, that's
still
good.
Though,
hey, that's 10 years on a desert planet, so that can do a lot to you. So completely understandable. All right, well, there you have it. What do you guys think about the Obi-Wan Kenobi? Does this little hint that it could be like a Joker or a Logan-esque type of storytelling? Does that make you more excited? Do you think it's clickbait just to get you to watch the show? Let us know in the comments below. If you know any spoilers, please do not say them. Yeah, because I don't know them and I don't want to know them. So there you go. All right. So the next up, we have something that this is very interesting.
I haven't heard about this at all. Like,
I'm just going to bring up the main card for it. This is so wacky. I'm very excited about it, though. Amy Adams to play a mom turning into a dog. This is.
Oh, now I get it. Okay.
This comes from Variety. This is a new movie that she's doing called Night Bitch. And Adams will star in the darkly comic neo-horror film Night Bitch, a film adaptation of Rachel Yoder's debut novel of the same name. The book follows a suburban stay-at-home mom who believes she is turning into a canine, exhibiting feral tendencies as she grapples with childcare and a tiring traditional family structure. Seth, what the hell does that mean?
I don't know. You know, now that you've read the synopsis or whatever, like the plot, I have heard about this before, but not in a very long time. So I guess it could be.
I can't figure out what it could be. I can't figure out what it could be. Like, I'm trying.
This is a horror movie.
Yeah, a darkly
is that the implication?
Darkly
okay,
comic.
yeah. Okay, so it's like a dark comedy.
Yeah,
okay.
It's gonna be like a dark comedy / horror.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, how do you make this movie without making it somewhat of a comedy?
You know, shit like this, dude, is what really gets me like excited about movies. Like this, like this right now. Night Bitch and Cocaine Bear are my most two.
That was the first thing that came to my mind when you read this off, was Cocaine Bear.
They're my two most anticipated films of whenever they come out. So, oh man. But yeah, Amy Adams' new movie Night Bitch. I mean, does this sound like something that you'd be interested in watching? And if
yes,
so,
I want to watch this movie. How do you not want to watch this movie? Like how do you read this and go, no, sounds boring. Not for me. Like,
it doesn't sound boring at all. Nothing about this sounds boring.
It sounds very entertaining.
Yes.
I
don't know anything about the book, but what I'm imagining is almost like I'm imagining like a werewolf situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like just the way it was described here in Variety, it tells me that maybe it won't be like that. I'm a stay-at-home mom who believes being the operative word, she is turning into a canine. That word believes just throws my entire anticipation of her turning into a werewolf type of thing out the window. It makes me think.
So is this like a psychological thriller now? Is it what this is turning into? Like,
yes, the darkly comic neo-horror psychological thriller. Yes.
I mean, I'd watch a movie like that. Like,
or maybe we're gonna get the best of both worlds. Maybe what's gonna happen is we'll see her turn into this whatever feral canine that she believes that she is, but like then we'll also see like real life where she's not really turning into that, but would like everyone's kind of watching her like just move around and contort her body in odd ways, and they're like, what the fuck is going on here? But that's the only thing I can imagine here. Do you know anything else about this?
I know nothing else about that movie.
Yeah, I've heard nothing about it. I'm surprised you've heard something about it, to be honest with you. Anybody who's watching right now, if you've heard of this new Amy Adams movie called Night Bitch and know anything about it, please let us know in the comments below. Or again, if you want to give us a call, you can at 740-527-3447. The line is open right now. What's up?
Has this movie like been shot or something? Like, is this like something that they're about to do, or is this something that's?
From what I've read, it sounded like they're about to do it. Like it hasn't. I don't know, to be honest with you, but it didn't sound like it was in production or post production or anything like that.
Huh.
Why? Can you not find anything on it?
No, I was just going to look for. I was wondering if you knew.
Nope. I have no idea where it's at in its production right now. But it does sound very interesting, fun, crazy, and as you said, darkly comic neo horror psychological thriller. And those are my types of movies. So, all right. Now, this next topic that we're going to discuss is kind of something that we've talked about when it comes to deep fake, images and things like this, about moving forward with Marvel and possibly the MCU as well, like bringing back classic characters that don't really, or maybe the person who originally played them has passed on, or they're so iconic, like we were talking about Wednesday, like Luke Skywalker, doing the deep fake of Luke Skywalker, because obviously the guy that plays Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, is 80 years old or whatever. So in that same light, there's a potential for Stan Lee cameos could return to the MCU in this sort of fashion. Now, will they return in the MCU? We don't know exactly, but here's the exact quote that comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter and Andy Hayward, who is the Genius Brand CEO and chairman. He says, "It really ensures that Stan, through digital technology and archival footage and other forms, will live in the most important venue, the Marvel movies and Disney theme parks. It's a broad ideal." Okay, so they're not saying, okay, yeah, Stan Lee cameos are back. Fuck yeah. No, that's not what they're saying, but they have gotten the Genius Brands and Marvel and Stan Lee's estate have all come together and have really they've come to an agreement to use for Marvel to be able to use the likeness of Stan Lee, at least for an extended period of time, likeness of Stan Lee to use wherever they want to put, like on backpacks, playing cards, in their actual movies, which is where the cameo could fall into. But if they do the cameo, Seth, it does fall into that same category we were talking about with Star Wars and using deep fakes and how icky that could be. What are your thoughts on reading this and then bringing Stan Lee back?
I'll say this: if we're talking about CGI, like if they were to bring him back CGI, theoretically, it's very different from the Luke Skywalker situation for one major reason. Luke Skywalker is a character. Stan Lee is a real person. Right.
Yeah, Cody Ray says it wouldn't be the same without him. That's fair.
I hope when it comes to maybe putting him back in movies, I hope they stick to what they've been doing the past couple movies. Specifically Venom 2 being my favorite one. Literally, he's walking through the store. There's a newspaper knocked over. Venom's tendril comes out of his back or whatever. Just pushes the newspaper up. Stan Lee's face is on the newspaper. Blink and you'll miss it.
Right.
Like, I think, and like sometimes they'll put like his birthday on license plates and stuff like that. Like, I think that's the way to do it from now on. Like,
yeah, just have him like in the background.
Yeah. But I like that idea.
When they say here that they specifically the CEO Andy Hayward specifically says the Marvel movies and Disney theme parks. The Marvel movies, I mean, that's very specific that they are going to bring him back into the movies one way or another. Yeah. Now, if you want to go for like the easier stuff, maybe as a like into the cartoon realm, the animated stuff, and then bring him back as the caricature of Stan Lee, would that be as icky to you?
If it was in an animated project, no, as long as he doesn't have any lines.
Right. Well, that's the thing. With the archival footage that they have, they could really make him say anything they want.
Yeah.
They really, I'm sure there's a program or a software out there that you put in all this footage that they have archived and you just type in words and it would, whatever algorithm that's in that thing will just pull out the words for you. You know what I mean? And yeah, you could totally do that. Absolutely. I mean, that's old technologies. Like I remember they did that with Chef in South Park. The guy that played Chef ended up quitting South Park because he got offended, ironically, by one of their episodes, from one of the most offensive shows ever to see the light of day.
Yeah.
And so they ended up having to do an episode without Chef, but they used all of his archival footage and audio clips to make him, continue in that episode. Now that episode was odd because like they said, oh, there's something wrong with Chef. And like, you could tell they're just using random clips.
Yeah.
He's like, well, like it would look like it was just oddly chopped together. and it was obviously done on purpose that way, but that was 20 some odd years ago. I'm sure that technology has gotten way better, and they could seamlessly do this. Now, what if they bring him in a 100% full-fledged, looks like Stan Lee, no audio? Like you just see him like kind of like look at the camera and do a little nod or a wink or a wave or high five somebody, or Spider-Man swings past him and he just does this little maneuver, something like that. But it's like looks like the real Stan Lee. Would that trip you out? Would that make it easier for you or no?
I mean, it would be if they made it look exactly like him. It wouldn't be unsettling because you're like, oh, that looks weird. It'd be unsettling because like, oh, he's not alive and it looks real. That's weird. Like, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the context in which they're doing this in is. I wish they were specific, but they were specific enough to say the Marvel movies. So that does mean he will show up in the movies one way or another. The obvious thing that comes to mind is Ghostbusters, and it wasn't unsettling because you're like, oh, that looks weird. It was like, oh, that looks real. Like the CGI was incredibly good in that scene. Yeah. And so you're just like,
it was really good.
This is just this. It just weirded me out because I was like, we know Harold Ramis isn't alive anymore, but it's like I'm watching him, and it looks like he's actually there. And I didn't like it. Like it felt weird, and I feel like it would be the same for Stan Lee, no matter how good he looked. Like
I see, I'm on the fence with this. I really am. Like I could go either way. I completely understand that way of thinking that this is eerie, this is unnatural, we shouldn't do this, But at the same time, like this is a legacy. That's what this is. It's and his family, his estate has agreed to this. Yeah. I think if we're going to do this, and we've said this before, Seth, in the past, I think going forward, would it make it less eerie if it was like a contractual like agreement, like, hey, when I die, you have my permission to do this. I'm okay with this. Would that make it better?
I'd still find it odd, but I wouldn't find it like disrespectful. I'd find it like, oh, that still weirds me out. But if that's what he wanted, then I mean, it's not disrespecting him anymore. But it's just, I mean, obviously, as far as we know, Stan Lee never said, oh yeah, you can go ahead and use CGI me when I die. So I mean, I don't know. I think I genuinely do not know what to think. Like,
I don't think he would have an issue with it. Cody Ray says, I think just images of him in BG. What's BG?
I think background. I think it's
okay. And background. Listen, if you guys are gonna do initials of things, I'm so bad at acronyms and initials and like abbreviations, I'll never guess what they
I'm
are.
usually bad at it too. I've never seen anybody use BG for background, but I don't know. Made sense.
Images of him and BG as Easter eggs would be better. Yeah, I agree with you, Cody. I think that's a smart way to do it. That's what Seth said, like what they did in Venom. I think those are very creative ways to, insert him into the films, but maybe they have bigger plans and we can sit here and speculate all day. I mean, how much did we speculate about, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and how much of that were we correct in our speculation? Like 1% we kind of got,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, he says, okay, I'm sorry, I'll remember that. Okay, he's talking about the BG. Thanks, Cody. So we weren't chastising you or anything. It's just, like if Seth wasn't here, I'd be like, CG, I don't know what that means. or BG. The BGs. All right, so Stan Lee cameos could come back. If they do, I'll be okay with it unless they're really cringy and like they have them like say a line of dialogue that's just odd. Like,
it really depends on how they do it. Like I have to see it before I really decide how I feel about it.
Like, okay, just hypothetical. Like, what if in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, like they already had the permission to do this, and they resurrect Stanley like out of the coffin. Like you see him like Evil Dead style coming out of the ground.
What if
like,
Stan Lee was the leader of the Illuminati?
Oh man. Well, I mean, he does have that role in the MCU. That one role where I forget the character's name, but where he would show up in all the movies and he's supposed to be playing the same character.
Yeah,
I think that character still exists.
Guardians 2 is what made that a thing. That's what made that like, oh yeah, he's the same character in every movie.
I love that. I think that's great, man. All right. Well, there you go. Stanley cameos could return. I personally don't have a problem with it, but I mean, the low-hanging fruit of all this is obviously for, as I said, like images that you can sell, like backpacks, notebooks, whatever you want to put Stanley's face on or name on.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now here's something that I'm wildly interested in. This is going to fall into the same realm as the Harley Quinn show that's on HBOmax. And ironically, I believe this is also on HBOmax, probably inspired by the Harley Quinn show, now that I think about it. There is going to be a reboot or reimagining, I don't know, of Scooby-Doo. And it's going to be 100% adult Scooby-Doo. Here is not only the first image, which before we go into the quote here, there's our first image of the show's gonna be called Velma, I think, and so here it is. Here's your adult Scooby-Doo, and there's your Velma, who has gone through a race swap, if you will. She is Indian in this show because the actress playing her, Mindy, I think it's Kaling. Is that how you say it, Seth?
I think so, yeah.
I think it's Kaling. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I suck at names. She has a quote. She says, "When it was announced that I was going to do the voice of Velma, people were very supportive and happy on Twitter. So I felt great because these are really intense fans, especially for a legacy show like this. So it's like, oh, this is great." Then it was announced about a month ago that the Velma character would be reimagined as South Asian, and people were not happy. There was a lot of like, so not Velma, those kinds of tweets, not the classic Velma I'm always thinking about. I just really didn't know that she elicited such strong reactions in either direction. And that comes to us from Deadline. Seth, 2 questions. I don't know how big you are in Scooby-Doo. I don't think you have to be big on Scooby-Doo. But yeah. Number 1, what do you think about our first look at the adult-driven Scooby-Doo? What do you think about an adult-driven Scooby-Doo? I guess 3 questions. And 3, what do you think about them doing the race swap, turning Velma into a South Asian character?
So, first, I'm not super into the Scooby-Doo franchise. I watched it a lot when I was a kid, but I never liked it that much.
Well, you grew out of it. That's kind of the thing about Scooby-Doo. It's easy to grow out of. So
yeah, but I grew out of it at a very young age, like 6 is when I grew out of Scooby-Doo. So like, I'll say though, I'm curious because I'd heard there was a Velma show coming. I didn't care, but only the other day is when this image came out. That's when I found out that this was geared towards adults, and I was like, that's a interesting way to go to. Like, that's not the route I was expecting them to go. But I mean, hey, they have Harley Quinn, and like you said, people like that show.
Yeah,
that's
they really like that show.
That's like one of the few adult animated shows that people actually like now, because you have stuff like, sorry, you can read that.
Oh yeah, sorry, no, I just wanted to say real quick, Jimbo, hey Jimbo, he says, and a naked Daphne because reasons. Dude, I mean, seriously, like, what man of our age, Jimbo, has not wondered, it's not kind of looked forward to this in one way or another. I mean, I'm sure you can go online and look up naked Velma and find or not Velma, naked Daphne, and find a whole slew of videos for yourself, because it's a thing, because reasons. Thank you, Jimbo. Sorry, Seth. Please continue.
But Harley Quinn is one of the few adult animated shows that people like anymore, because Family Guy is still going. People aren't into Family Guy anymore. Like, let's be honest. You got
Yeah.
shows like Big Mouth going on Netflix, which Big Mouth is awful, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen Big Mouth.
No.
I've seen one episode of that. I could not stand that show. Rick and Morty's okay, but Harley Quinn is the one that people really seem to like. And with this being HBO Max as well, I wouldn't be surprised if people actually do really like this one too.
Well, there's a big difference to note here. Difference being, like, if you jump from like Family Guy or even Rick and Morty over to the Harley Quinn show on HBO Max, there is a huge difference in actual adult content in each episode. Like,
Yeah.
Harley Quinn's way more sexualized, way more vulgar than you would find on Cartoon Network or on your regular Fox channel. So it's definitely going to be a deeper dive into it. But my other question for you was, what about the race swap with with Velma? Yeah, good. I want to unpack something with that, but I want to get your first initial thoughts on them doing that.
Who cares? Who cares? Like,
Right.
Is it super important that the character is white?
No.
Okay, then who cares?
Right.
Like, I don't see this. I didn't even like think about it, honestly. Like,
And that's great. See, that's a good thing about like younger generations, is that it's just like you said, like, why is this even a big deal? Like, I love that mindset that you have. Like, it's a great mindset for younger generations to have. Unfortunately, older people like me, older than me, they're kind of set in their ways and like, oh no, that don't change what I don't like. Now, you know me, Seth. Like, I don't care. You can race swap anybody. Like, I was looking forward to the Michael B. Jordan Superman that will probably be on the chopping block now. But that was supposed to come out. I don't mind. You can race swap any character. I don't care. The one issue that I have when it comes to this, and it's not my issue, it's other people's issues. Like, number one, as she states in her quote here, it's so not Velma. This is not the classic Velma that I'm always thinking about. Like, that's going to be a harsh reality that she's obviously facing right now. But number two, where I have my biggest issue is if it were the other way around, and you take a South Asian character and you turn him into a white character, that would be very, like, it wouldn't be considered woke. It would be considered whitewashing. It would be considered almost racist, if not racist. And that's where I fail to get behind the race swapping thing. And it's not because I don't care if they race swap Velma. I do care that people would get pissed if they race swap the other way around. And that's what really bothers me, is that these same people, that will support a race swap from an Asian character or an Indian character to a white person would get super pissed off if that happened. But you do it the other way around, they're extremely supportive. I find it hypocritical, and it's something that I consider almost a toxicity in media today. And I would be I wish we had Mindy on here right now so we could ask her, what she would think if they did it the other way around. I would love to get, not white person, because we get two white dudes here. I'd love to get somebody who's not white, an opinion about, race swapping either way, either direction, white to black, black to white, brown to white, white to brown, whatever. If anybody watching has that sort of knowledge, or you have a strong opinion about it, please let us know in the comments, because I'm very, I don't care. I think it's great. I probably would have, if I would have watched the episode without knowing, I would have been like, oh, weird, they swapped a race, okay, whatever, and moved on with my life. Well, anyway, Jimbo says, let's push the bar. Instead of being a stoner, Shaggy's gonna get addicted to heroin now, and sold Scooby for his addiction. Oh yeah. Why not? Let's go deep. Let's go deep cut with this. I'm curious to see how they're going to handle all the other characters as well. You were about to say something, Seth. What were you?
I don't know. I don't have much space to talk about race swapping stuff, you know.
That's the thing. You do have space to talk about that. That is my point. Is I think it should be okay either way you race swap. I don't think a white person should feel guilty for feeling like I don't feel like we should feel like we don't have a voice. You know what I mean?
I kind of get that. Yeah. I think
it's tough. I know.
I understand the people who are thinking like, oh, why can't you go both ways? I get why certain people think that, but just in my mind, it's weird to do that. Like, it's weird to whitewash a character because, like, it's mostly like around racism, like especially when it comes to adapting a certain thing. Like, if a character is of color in like a comic book or something, and a director sees it and they're like, let's get a white guy. We don't need a person of color in my movie. Like, I think it's that kind of mindset of whitewashing people in movies and shows has been, it's like around racism. Like,
that's how it's been in the past. So we're still reverbing that. Absolutely. I totally 100% agree with that. That's a very, it's a very mature thought that you had there. And you make a valid point. Us white people have had our heyday. We've done this thousands of times, and this is part of that pendulum swing I'm always talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right now we're swinging this way to where, people where the white folks are just kind of like, hey, we just sit back and enjoy the ride, man, because we've had our moment in the sun, if you will. But I don't know, but I know somewhere out there that if it did happen again, it's already happened. Like, think about Ninja Turtles, the first reboot that they did, or the only reboot that they did, but the first movie in the reboot. Yeah. They brought Shredder back, and they were going to whitewash him. They were going to have, I forget the actor's name, who still played in the movie, but
I can think of his face, but I can't think of his name.
Yeah, he was supposed to play Shredder, and then it got huge backlash because he wasn't Asian. To so much backlash that they literally just forced a Shredder character in there, like one scene with a shadowed faced Asian guy saying that he was Shredder, but then the rest of the movie was, I forget the goddamn actor's name, but Jimbo says sometimes it's done for talent purposes, and sometimes they race swap just to check a box. This time I think it's to check a box, to be honest, but do I care? Not really. Well, to check a box might be, I see what you mean, Jimbo, but at the same time, maybe we're getting a genuine race swap here. Maybe they chose an actress that they just loved and said, man, you really sound great. We're actually going to adapt, the character that you're playing to be your color of skin. Just number one, just kind of check that box, like Jimbo's saying. But at the same time, they're doing it because the actress that they chose was the best actress for the role. So now they're going to race swap the character instead. That's progressive. You know what I mean? I think that's a good way to look at it.
I'm just not ready for this show to come out. Like, just because I'm not ready for all the people who are going to be like, oh my God, it's so woke. I hate that word. I know it's like a bunch of people use it. I hate the word woke. Specifically with the way it's used by toxic people, because people will look at the word that when I saw that word first come up was with the Star Wars trilogy, the most recent one. People are like, oh, it's so woke. And I'd be like, why? They're like, oh, because Rey is the main character. It's like, it's woke because the woman is the main character. That's why you're mad. Like, because it's not a white guy.
Right.
Like, that's why you're upset. So when I hear the word woke, that's what I think of, is people mad that the main character isn't a white guy.
Yeah.
That's what they seem to be using that word for. They're like, anytime it's a person of color or woman or both, they're just like, oh, it's so woke. What a woke culture. Like,
yeah, Seth, you bring up a very valid point, and it's something that I've actually been thinking about myself, because I listen to certain radio shows and stuff like that. And there's this one guy, I respect the hell out of him as a radio DJ. I'm not going to blast the show, but it's a very popular radio show. And no, it's not Howard Stern, but a little right below that. And this guy does the same thing. Like he swears up and down, like, listen, I'm not racist. I don't care about that. But he always comes through and starts bitching about wokeness. He's like, I'm just tired of these woke people. Why has it got to be a dark female in this role? Why can't you just have a white guy in the role? Like,
yeah,
it's one of those grumpy old white men ways of thinking. Like, what, you kind of
Yeah.
don't get it, man. Like that. And it's, using that word woke is toxic. It's saying, hey, well, just because you're trying to stay away from, a certain narrative that we've had for years, well, you're woke. And the people that use woke in that way are looking at it as a negative term, but people who are doing it the other way look at it as a positive term.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think, again, I think it's part of the pendulum swing. We'll eventually get there into the common ground of things. But until, boomers and stuff like that start, going away, it's always going to be a thing. In some form, it's always going to be a thing, but it's going to be a very loud thing for a good portion of the future.
I'll say this: out of the 4 years I've been hearing people say the word woke, I've never heard it used positively. Like, I've never seen people be like, "Go woke."
I have.
I've only seen people use it negatively.
Well, I've seen people use it in positive way, but also using it to insult other people. Like, oh, look at this motherfucker. He ain't woke. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. Yeah. There's some people out there, but mostly negatively.
Well, even that's negative. So you're right. It still has a negative connotation, but they're using it like they support it, but they're still using it to blame somebody else for their way of thinking. Very odd. It's very odd how that's what a dumb word. We should just get rid of that word.
We should.
Or I'm going to go on the other way. I'm going to start saying people are sleep. Like when I think they're not progressive. Man, you sleep.
Yeah. I don't, every time I see someone use that word, I push them away, because like there's been times where I'll just be like going through YouTube or something. I can't think of like a specific example, but I'll be watching like a trailer reaction or something. They'll be like, yeah, it looks good. They'll be like, yeah, it looks good. But like, I really don't understand the woke side of it. And I'll be like, okay, close the video. This guy already set the tone. Like,
now I'm not going to lie. I have used the word woke before in some of my reviews, specifically my Spider-Man Homecoming review. Where
I don't know if I watched that one.
I did. I said, hey, the movie is being woke, and that's fine. Like, I could tell that they were obviously making decisions against the norm of what we're used to. And again, I am perfectly fine with that. No problem. But I blame the movie for not being woke enough. I said, oh, here's this movie trying to be progressive and, treat men and women without sexuality, but the entire movie, they over-sexualize Aunt May. I was like, if you're going to be woke all the way. Don't pick and don't cherry pick which woke you're going to be. And then completely, not only did they over-sexualize Aunt May, but they also over-sexualized the teenage girls in the movie as well, where they played that whole fuck, marry, kill with Thor. And
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was my flirtation with the woke world. Let's see. Let me jump into the comments real quick. I see we have a few here. Derpy Gaming. He's just here for quality content. Scooby-Doo, where art thou, equality? Right. Yeah. Maybe Scooby's going to be a female dog, and we can. They can call Scooby a bitch. Yeah, there you go. Because that's what a female dog's called for no other reason.
Yeah.
Jimbo says, not long ago, woke had kind of a different meaning. A lot of conspiracy theorists use it, saying that they were woke about everything going on behind the scenes. Now it's just toxic. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. That sounds like a pretty, that sounds like exactly where that word would like evolve from. And then, once people start realizing, ooh, that word means I'm behind the scenes. I know something that you don't. Well, now I'm woke. I'm special.
Yeah.
I could totally see that, man. Thanks for pointing that out, Jimbo. That's really good information to have. All right, there you go. Adult Scooby-Doo series coming. And just in case you missed it, I'm going to bring this up one more time. A little look see that we had it's coming to HBO Max. Where they race swapped Velma, and we're gonna get some Scooby-Doolicious adult. I don't know what they're going to do with the show, but I really dig in the sliced head. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
We talked about naked. We talked about race swap, but we did not talk about the giant fucking chopped off head. Okay.
I'll say this. This makes me want to watch the Harley Quinn show because I've never watched it actually. I watched the first 2 episodes, and for some reason I never continued it, even though I did enjoy it. So I think I want to dive into that maybe before this comes out.
Yeah, I hear it's fun. Like if you're looking to like for good story and rich storytelling, then maybe not. But if you're looking for just a fun time,
Exactly
watch it with watch it with you and with me or with your cousin, and just sit there and laugh and have a good time. Scooby-Doo is all washed up stand-up comedian. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means, Seth?
Nope. I think he's saying Scooby-Doo is a washed-up stand-up comedian. Whatever that means.
Is there an actual stand-up comedian, or am I just missing the joke? I don't know. Jimbo says, that's how you know it's going to be good. It makes Seth want to watch something different.
Well, just to get ready, something on the same streaming service that falls into like the adult animation category. It's not like...
Seth, you just got called out for being a grumpy old man who doesn't want to watch something new. I don't want to change my ways. Dude, Jimbo, you don't even know. This kid still to this fucking day only orders rice from Chipotle. It's all he's ever ordered his entire life. I think he started adding steak, but separate on the side. But anytime he goes to Chipotle, rice. He's ordered it that way since he was like 3. So he doesn't like the change is not Seth's strong suit. But that's okay. He's working on it. Right, Seth?
Yeah.
So the enthusiasm is just out of this world. All right, moving forward here to something that Seth, we've talked about this before.
Vaguely.
But now it's coming more to fruition. Let's bring this card up here. It says, new Daredevil series coming to Disney Plus. And this comes to us from a Variety report. It says, a new Daredevil series is moving forward at Disney Plus, with Variety having exclusively learned from sources that Matt Corman and Chris Ord, is that how you say Ord?
I think it's Chris Ord, yeah.
All right. Are attached to write and executive produce. Rumors have persisted for some time that a Disney Plus series about the man without fears was in the works, especially considering that 2 of the stars of Netflix Daredevil series, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, have appeared in recent Marvel projects. It now appears that the project is picking up steam with the hiring of Corman and Ord, although Marvel has yet to announce anything regarding the show formally. Okay. All right. So, new Daredevil series coming to Disney Plus. Hold on, before we dive in. I didn't raise a psychopath, Jimbo. He takes after his father. To take that to the bank. we're both psychopaths, man. You know this, Jim. So new Daredevil series coming to Disney Plus. Theoretically, as they said, Variety, I'm pretty sure it will. Their inside source, but Marvel has yet to formally announce it. What do you think this is going to be? How do you think this is going to come to fruition? Is this going to be another variant? Is this what are the potentials and the possibilities of it being great or failing?
It's going to be a variant. It's not going to be the exact same Daredevil. And I think people just need to accept that that's the case here. Like, we're not going to get a continuation. Like, okay, in a Hollywood Reporter article regarding this exact same thing, they described it as a new but continued series. So that means that it's not the same version, but these versions have probably gone through very similar circumstances as the Netflix version, which then gets to the point, why even make it different? Who knows? Who cares? They're going to act the same. They're going to be probably written the same. And I'm assuming Bullseye is going to be the villain of this season.
But why? This is where I'm going to have a major disdain for the multiverse. This is where the multiverse is going to prove to me yes, we opened the multiverse because convenience. I don't. What if they recast Foggy? Is that okay with you? Are you fine with that? Like that they just?
I'd rather them not, but
Right, but why not?
because I like that guy who plays him.
Okay, but anybody could play that guy, but you like that character, right? Like that you watched 3 seasons of this character develop, and now you're going to be introduced to this character who is not the same fucking guy that you watched the other 3 seasons. Like that's the part that bothers me. Or they can retcon other things that they cherry pick what they'd like and didn't like from the TV series. I don't like this. I do not, if it is a variant, we don't know. It could be a straight continuation. But Charlie Cox himself has come out and said that this will not be the same.
Yeah.
This will not be the same Murdoch. So like with that, he could either mean physically it's just not the same person, or he's going through something that we haven't seen, on camera, and he's just not the same. He's not in the same place we left him at. He could also mean that. But to me, if you go into the multiverse realm, it's 100%. I just consider it lazy. I consider it fucking lazy. That's my thoughts.
The first thing I want to say about this show coming is a lot of people's big concern is like, well, Disney's not going to make it as dark and gritty as Netflix did. Who cares? Daredevil is not an R-rated character. Netflix made him an R-rated character. The comic books did not. They can easily do Daredevil in PG-13. He is
the comic books were pretty dark. I mean, look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that were based off of Daredevil. They were very dark comics because they were strictly following the Daredevil, motif.
I mean, like gore wise, like in terms of the amount of gore that the Daredevil show had, that's not needed for Daredevil. Like this show does not need to be TV MA. This can easily work TV 14 or PG 13 or whatever.
I agree with you, but I think it would be lazy to change the have it be a variant of Daredevil just to have that be the reason why it's not mature. I mean,
well,
I think you can continue the series and just have it be slightly lighter and nobody would say anything.
I think it's like, well, maybe, I mean, obviously Kevin Feige, the man in charge, all hail Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige maybe wants to do his own thing.
You throwing shade?
I don't know. I'm starting to think about the idea of like, oh, whatever Kevin Feige wants. It's just like, it comes up in every single Marvel conversation. It's starting to weird me out a little bit, but like, Kevin Feige probably wants to do his own thing with Daredevil.
Then get a new Daredevil.
He
can do whatever they did. They did it with Spider-Man.
Andrew Garfield was fired. Charlie Cox was not fired. Charlie Cox is perfect for the role, and Vincent D'Onofrio is also perfect for the role. I don't, especially with them wanting. Kevin Feige had no involvement with the Netflix shows, so it's not like he got to do what he wanted to do with the character in the shows. He didn't. He probably doesn't want to only spin off of somebody else's idea. He probably wants to. He's probably like, there's some good ideas in there, but I also kind of want to do my own thing with this character in a different franchise. Because even if they were canon at one point, the Marvel Netflix shows are not canon anymore. And tonally, they're nothing alike. So bringing in those characters would be odd for both fandoms. Like whether you're a fan of Marvel Netflix or MCU or both, it would be very kind of jarring to see that happen. Because like, I don't know. I completely understand people's problem with it, but I don't really care. Like, it sounds like they're pretty much going to be continuing the story anyway. So yeah, I don't really care.
I just don't like the fact that they can just cherry pick whatever they want and retcon whatever they want. Like, to me, what this says to me is, hey, we want to bring this character into our MCU, but we also want to bank off of the fact that everybody loves this version of this character. So we're going to bring this character in just by looks, slightly neuter him a little bit to bring him down to our level, and then cherry pick whatever we want. But don't worry, you're going to get the same Daredevil face. But I feel trolled. Like it feels like a trolling sort of mentality of, like, you get to see your character continue, but it's not the same character. It just doesn't. It doesn't work for me.
It's not them just banking on it. It's not like the only reason they're getting Charlie Cox is because we'll make more money doing that. It's because he's perfect for the role. like that's why they're doing it. And also, could you imagine the fan response if they recast Daredevil?
It'd probably be the same if they recast Foggy. To be honest with you,
I doubt it. I mean, I'm sure there'd obviously be a lot of people upset if they recast Foggy, but I think a majority of people would be like, "Oh, they recast Foggy? That's stupid." But I mean, at least we got Charlie Cox as Daredevil, because he. Honestly,
thanks Disney for throwing us a bone. Can I please have some more?
I haven't talked about it much, but Charlie Cox is one of my favorite comic book castings that we've ever gotten.
He's great.
And
he's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I personally don't have much of a problem with it, but I completely understand why people do.
Right. And my problem is not bringing him back into the MCU. My problem is just making it a different version. Like that's not what I want the multiverse for.
I mean, the thing is, they would be doing this even if the multiverse hadn't been introduced yet. This has nothing to do with the multiverse being introduced. This is what they would have done anyway.
I can't say one way or another on that. Jimbo says, I don't think they're looking to get a new Daredevil or completely finger snap away the other 3 seasons, or Charlie Cox wouldn't have been in Spider-Man, and Vincent wouldn't have been in Hawkeye. Right. I get it, but they only brought those characters into that movie and that show just to let you know that, hey, these versions of these characters still exist. They exist in this universe, but they might not be the same character. That's the part that gets me. Like, you know what? To me, how about this? If you're going to do that, if you're going to make this version of Daredevil, a different variant, he has a slightly different story, kind of the same, it's slightly different, then also continue the other one, as your multiverse version. I don't know. Like, I think that'd be a great opportunity to, if you want to dive into multiverse stuff, but people loved that for what it was. And now you're going to take what they loved and it's seemingly just water it down. And that's the part that I have a problem with. And again, mostly just them cherry picking and saying, oh, we like this, but we don't like that. So, like in this universe, that didn't happen, or it happened this way instead. That's the problem I have. It's just the convenience, lazy way of doing it. That's just me. Obviously, I stand alone, at least in this room. But
I'll tell you when I'll get concerned fully with this is when they announce it and they go experience the 6-part limited series. That's my biggest fear with this, is that they're like, experience the 6-episode event. Like, oh no. Give me 9 episodes at least. She-Hulk is getting 9 episodes.
I think they're going that route. Well, She-Hulk's only like half an hour too, so
it's true. But I think they know though that like they can't mess this up. Like, they can't mess up Daredevil. They know how passionate that fan base is, and they know how long people have been waiting for this actor to come back, whether it's the same version or not.
Yeah,
they know how much they wanted this to happen. So if they mess this up, that they'll never be forgiven by the hardcore Daredevil fans. And it's like bringing back Toby and Andrew, specifically Toby. It's like, you can't mess it up. If you mess it up, you'll never be forgiven. So you have to do it right. Yeah. And they did. In my opinion, they did Toby right.
Because they brought back the actual characters. Like the characters we saw were the characters that we grew with. That's a big difference there, Seth. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but that right there is I don't know why I keep holding that pen. Fuck this pen. They're like Bob Dole, but that's a reference you won't understand, Seth. But but that's the big difference. Is those are the characters that they brought. Now, what if they did that in No Way Home? What if they brought in Andrew and Toby, but they weren't the same ones? How do you think that would have went over?
Listen, I don't know.
Whoa! I was listening. Did I rock your world with that question?
No, I get it. No, I get it. But I'm
Jimbo
just in my head. It makes more sense. I don't know. I don't know.
Right, but you get my point. It would have watered down those characters. It would have made that them being put into that movie a little would have left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. Jimbo, in the comic, excuse me, in the comics, weren't Moon Knight and Daredevil part of a team that wasn't the Avengers? I can't think of the name.
Yeah,
that's not
kind of.
That's not like the team that he was in on Netflix, was it?
No, that's the Defenders.
The Defenders, yeah.
There's like this slight misconception with this team called the Midnight Suns. People put like, oh, Daredevil, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, Blade are all on this team. I don't think they are. Like, some of them are, but like, what's funny is the most popular image of the Midnight Suns team, which has most of those characters that I just listed in it. People are like, oh, here's your Midnight Suns lineup. That lineup from the most popular image I've seen was from a canceled comic that doesn't exist.
Oh, okay.
So like technically that, I mean, I don't know exactly how the Midnight Suns are, but I'm pretty sure that's the team that Jim is referring to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I mean, they'll probably do a Midnight Suns thing at some point. I know Doctor Strange is involved with that, so maybe that's his next step. Who knows though?
All right, well, there you go. Daredevil series coming to Disney Plus. Mum is the word of whether or not it will actually exist as a continuation or a soft reboot. You kind of know the characters. We're not going to dive into it, but we can cherry pick and retcon whatever we want. Some people don't care, and I get it, but to me, like, I don't know. It just seems like a cheat.
Yeah,
it just seems like a cheat.
You know, I want to throw this out there though, and maybe people will still roll their eyes at this, but it's just the way I think of it. Is like, even if this show is bad, you still have 3 seasons of another Daredevil show, which are all great. You know,
yeah. Like
the worst one is still like a 9 out of 10 to me. So yeah, like.
And it's a finite story, like it ending where it ended.
Yeah.
Well, except for the bullseye.
They have a little tease afterwards, but like if you cut off that tease, the show could have been over. Like,
yeah,
I understand people were upset, and it's a show that could have a season 4. You know, it's not like, oh, it's ended, don't do anymore. But it's like, you know, since this is the ending, it's a good ending. Like he beat Fisk. You know, I don't know. I like that ending a lot.
Right. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Seth. If they make this season 5 or season 4, I mean, and they bring down the tone, you know, and they don't make it as violent, but, you know, Disney Plus is starting to push those boundaries a little bit. And I think, like, you know me, like, even though I like that hardcore stuff, I think it can easily fall into a PG-13 realm as opposed to a rated mature thing. Yeah. But they make a season 4 and they just kind of water it down a little bit. I'm okay with that, as long as what I grew with how these characters grew in my world, as long as that's still intact. That's the part that really bugs me. That's my emotional investment gone if they start tearing that down and breaking it apart and cherry picking from it. That's the part I care about.
I think it's gonna seem seamless.
Yeah.
In my mind, like, we'll see. Technically, the show is not even announced, so.
Right, but I'm sure Variety being a being a very reliable source, right under Film Trigger. Variety is reliable.
Exactly.
Jimbo says that's gonna be the cover up to make it brand new. Feige is just gonna say, well, I guess Bullseye never made it out of the hospital. Here's a news story.
No, I feel like Bullseye will be the villain. I think, because obviously, you know, he was a big part of season 3, but he never was technically Bullseye in that. Like, he never got the name Bullseye. Right. So I think, yeah, I'll say this: I'm excited to see the Daredevil suit. whatever it is, because they're not going to stick with the one that they had. So he'll probably get a new suit in this show, and I'm excited to see what that looks like, because
Right.
I really like the Phase 4 suits that they've given us so far.
Okay. All right.
You're in the minority if you don't
No,
like
I'm
them.
not. Like when you say Phase 4 suits, like whose suits are you talking about exactly?
Doctor Strange, Captain America, Wanda.
See, Captain America
Loki.
was the one. Captain America was the one I was thinking about. I absolutely hate that suit. We're talking about the new one, like with what's his name?
Sam Wilson.
Sam Wilson.
Falcon.
Like, thank you. Falcon was the word I was looking for. With Falcon playing him, like I don't like costumes who choose aesthetic over functionality, and I cannot fathom for the life of me, besides the fact it's just how it looked in the comic books, why he has that white headband going around. I like it's like a mask, but not the head. I think it looks dumb. It doesn't look good. It looked like a TV show version of it when we saw the TV series. I wasn't a big fan of it. But moving forward, I digress. I'm sure it'll look better when I see it in theaters. This is the last thing that we had to talk about today, actually. But I have a feeling this might turn into a bigger conversation than what we have on the surface level here. And it says, all DC movies are to be theatrical release only moving forward over at Warner Brothers Discovery. This comes from the Digital Fix, and they say, according to insiders at Warner Brothers Discovery, the goal now is to make movies with a theatrical first goal, and projects that are now being considered more carefully when it comes to their budget and the return of investment. The Wonder Twins movie, which seems to be getting more popular now it's been canceled.
It's like official now.
The Wonder Twins movie was reportedly looking at a budget of $75 million, which for a movie that was going straight to a streaming service just didn't represent the kind of release strategy that would make sense in the current market. $75 million Warner Brothers was going to spend on this piece of shit?
It's also a Wonder Twins movie. Maybe that's why it was canceled. Not because of the budget.
Okay, but still, like, this is okay. Zaslav, like, if this is true, this is again, the Digital Fix says according to insiders. So take that as you will. But Warner Brothers, notification squirrel. Warner Brothers have been on a very downward slope since, as far as I'm concerned, since Green Lantern. They don't know. They don't have a correct goal, a correct vision. They don't know how to stay the path. Anytime somebody goes, "Oh, I don't like that," they're like, "Okay, cancel everything. We're done here." You know, like that's what they. Yeah. Prime example, and we don't have to dive too deep into it, but prime example, obviously, the Snyder Cut debacle. Like, Warner Brothers did their very fucking best to make sure they covered that up as much as they can, ignore it as much as they can, to the point where they literally benched their best superheroes because they just didn't want to talk about it. They literally cut off the head of Superman in a Shazam cameo. Number one, ew. Number two, if you didn't want to show the face, there's a much more creative way to do it than what they did.
I know it's a misconception. I still wish they didn't cut off the head, but that wasn't them just hiding Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill couldn't make it to set. He was supposed to. He was supposed to be in that movie, but he was filming The Witcher, so it was scheduling is the reason you didn't see his head. I still think there was a better way to do it.
Yeah,
but
there was a better
some people blame that on, like, oh, they just don't want to show Henry Cavill. That wasn't the case.
For me and for my rant purposes, that's the goddamn case, and that's what that's what happened.
Fair point.
No, but obviously Warner Brothers just we got this project coming out. We got this project coming out. Oh, no, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. Oh, now we have HBOmax coming out, and I think, like, the one good thing that they did was hire James Gunn, do the Suicide Squad, and then do Peacemaker. Now Zaslav has come in. He's fucking just kicking ass, taking names, throwing shit. canceling this project, canceling that project. He's going through going, what the fuck are you doing, Warner Brothers? $75 million for a Wonder Twins TV movie? Are you kidding me? I believe, I don't have the report here, but I have heard reports that, Zaslav is like, hey, listen, for any TV show that we do on HBO Max, maximum budget, $35 million.
Yeah. I've heard that before too.
And I think that's brilliant. I think that could work. And it would, like, Wonder Twins. You want to do a Wonder Twins TV series or a Wonder Twins movie for $35 million? Do it. Put it on HBO Max. That sounds. And if the characters do well there, then you can make a major motion picture out of them. So that, I think what's happening there is very smart, and it's got me very excited for the future of Warner Brothers. But at the same time, now, according to the Digital Fix, as I said, that their goal is to now have all their DC movies only be theatrical. Like a prime example of that would be Batgirl. Batgirl's supposed to be on HBO Max. We haven't heard much about Batgirl since they moved the Flash movie, but theories have been that it's going to, or it hasn't come out that it's going to be theatrical.
There were some rumors, but nothing was ever official that it was moving theatrical.
Okay.
But there were some like whispers a couple months ago, like, hey, you've heard it might probably go theatrical. So
that's where I'd put my money. I'd put my money on it being theatrical for sure. Now, this does raise a question for me, though, Seth. And I don't know if you've thought about this. Maybe you have, or maybe you have some knowledge or something that I don't. What does this mean for, like, the Penguin series? Like, would that be considered one of those things that they would take their DC property and say, hey, let's take this and actually put it in a movie, because that's where this should be?
I don't think so. No, I thought about it and I was like, oh, they want to get rid of all the properties off HBO Max. That's weird. Then I was like, oh, they made movies. Stuff like Peacemaker is going to stick on HBO Max, and so is stuff like The Penguin. Unless for some reason Matt Reeves is like, you know what, I want to do a Penguin movie instead of a show. Yeah. But I don't think David Zaslav would come up to Matt Reeves and be like, hey, movie, no show. But I don't see it. I don't think it'll affect the TV shows.
Right. Jimbo says they aren't the only studio guilty of that. Remember, the Universal was supposed to do the Monsterverse starting with The Mummy. Yeah, that's a question. I read it as a comment. Sorry. Then it was shit and they canned the whole thing. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Jimbo. It's just that Warner Brothers has done it worse.
Yeah, Warner Brothers done it multiple times.
Right. The Mummy didn't set up for an entire franchise in a couple movies in and left on a cliffhanger. And then they canceled it because people are like, not my Batman. Except for that was like the coolest Batman I've seen. Superman has no hope. That's not my Superman. Ugh. Like, they were listening to all the negative comments. No, you're right, Jimbo. Other movie studios have done this, but not to the degree and irresponsibility that Warner Brothers. They are the kings of letting their fans down.
I hate Superman fans. I'm like, oh, Superman killed Zod in Man of Steel. How inhumane of him. Now let me go watch Superman 2, where he takes powers away, slowly crushes his hand,
and throws him into the abyss,
and throws him into an endless pit where he will probably die of starvation.
Oh, dude.
Or dehydration. Like
popcorn, cheers all around. Yeah, that's my Superman.
And Superman is smiling as he does it. That's
he does, that sadistic son of a bitch.
imagine if Henry Cavill smiled as he like snapped Zod's neck. He was like,
right.
He was like, yeah, we saved the day.
It's crazy because Superman's reaction when he snapped Zod's neck was probably the most humane thing.
Yeah,
it was probably the most human that we've ever seen Superman be. You're right, Seth. Superman fans, amongst other fans of many properties, are just, oh man, you're never going to please them. And Warner Brothers never figured that out. They always tried to please the fans, and when they didn't please all of them, they're like, oh no, we're doing this wrong. The prime example is going back to Superman Returns, which I think is a very underrated film. It got a lot of flack, and I don't think it should have. But people wanted Christopher Reeve Superman. Christopher Reeve could not do Superman for a galaxy of reasons. Number one, he was dead. Number two, even if he was alive, he was paralyzed, so he couldn't do the character. So what did Warner Brothers do? They bent over backwards. They found Brandon Roof. They almost hired Henry Cavill and chose not to go with him because Brandon Routh looked more eerily so like Christopher Reeve. And they brought you a modern story that is believable to be a continuation of the Reeve saga, except for the whole time jump thing. But, in a multiverse.
Timing makes no sense. But like...
in a multiverse setting, it would make sense. I think the biggest misstep that Bryan Singer did with that movie is not show like a prologue at the beginning of the movie where, they kind of recreate the Christopher Reeve iconic moments, but with Brandon Routh, so we understand that this is the same character.
Yeah,
that's the only misstep I think they had. But Homelander is greater than Superman. That's a fight I would like to see. But anyway, my point to all this was when they did that, the movie didn't do well. People didn't like it. It was too soft. There was no real stakes. He only fought Lex Luthor, whatever galaxy of reasons they came up with. It just didn't do it. So they go a completely different route, bring in Zack Snyder through Nolan's suggestion, bring this very grounded and Superman and make one of my favorite movies of all time, Man of Steel. And people had the same exact issue with it. Same exact issue. It was, no, this isn't my Superman, except it was on the other end of it. It was all the stuff that they complained about for this one, they rectified, and people complained about that. They said, no, we want the more Christopher Reeve Superman. We want the more campy Superman. Like, no, you just bitched about us making that. You're never going to please fans. And I think let the money talk for itself. Like, people look at Warner Brothers seemingly treated Batman v Superman like a disaster. The movie made what was it, $800 million?
Yeah, a lot of money
on a $300 million budget. That's a lot of money. No, it didn't reach $1 billion. Sorry, but like, yeah. I bet it would have. I bet it would have became a cult classic. I think Zack Snyder's greatest attribute is that he can create something that will eventually you'll be like, oh, dude, that's awesome. That's also his Achilles heel because he doesn't know how to grab his audience right from the get-go, except for Man of Steel. But when it comes to building a world, he asks a lot of investment from you. Yeah. Like, hey, I need you to stick with me. Trust me, it's going to pay off. All right.
I mean, BVS is already becoming a cult classic. Like, right. It's getting there. Because, like, I see people all the time that hate that movie. And then, like, they're like, oh, yeah, I guess I'll check it out again. They're like, you know what? It's not that bad. It's not that bad of a movie. And so you slowly see more and more people start liking it. Even the people who hated it when it came out, they're starting to warm up to it more now. Yeah. And I think in 15, 20 years, that movie's going to be loved by, like, a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. I think even less than that. But I think our biggest missed opportunity when it comes to BVS, and I know I knew we were going to do this when we brought this up, but we'll get back to the main point. But I think the biggest thing we missed out on so far, if it could still happen, I doubt it, but it could, is if we actually saw the original plan that Zack Snyder was going to do, which he did talk about in an open discussion sort of forum once, and he said, around the 5th movie, you were going to see the team kind of orchestrate sending Barry to warn Bruce Wayne about Superman, and that was going to be set up. And they're like, well, should we send him here? And like the way they explained time travel was like, well, you have to remember, like, the Earth is constantly moving around the sun. So if you leave, if you leave time here on this Earth and you move, 30 years back to the same time, but what if the Earth is on the other side of the sun? Then you'll appear in space. Like, he was really going to hash this out. And then they're like, well, should we bring Barry to this point? And then Bruce Wayne was going to be like, if that's what you would do without my suggestion, then do the opposite, because Barry came to me randomly talking about shit I had no idea. So obviously when we did this before, but somehow in the future, you guys sent him to the wrong timeline. They were going to explain that Barry being sent to Bruce. What is it? Too soon? Am I too soon? That whole line was going to make nothing but fucking sense once we got to that movie, but we never got to that movie. You know, like it I don't know. Zack Snyder, man, I love the guy's vision, but like he asks a lot of your investment when he. So that's why I'm really excited about what he's doing with Netflix. I'm hoping to see the big picture when he's done with whatever he's doing, the Army of the Dead and all that stuff. Yeah. But anyway, DC movies will not be will be all that theatrical release only. I think that's a good way to go. I think that makes sense. If you want to bring your side characters into a TV series, boom, that's where you keep them, and keep that at a low $35 million budget. That seems like a responsible financial way to handle the future of Warner Brothers. Seth, how are you feeling about not only theatrical release only for DC movies, but just Zaslav in general taking over DC and actually like doing something? This is the third time we've seen Warner Brothers being like trade hands, but this is the first time we've seen any actual action. Yeah,
and it shows me how important DC is to David Zaslav, because he's like. He's already said like DC could be the biggest moneymaker.
Yeah.
And he wants to start a DC Studios, which they've needed for years. I don't know why they didn't have a DC Studios already, but that's like an active plan. They're looking for someone right now to be in charge of that. Like,
didn't they bring in somebody recently? Like in the past 2 days, like the main dude. Oh my gosh.
I know who you're talking about. They've had talks with Alan Horn.
Thank you, Alan Horn.
To do something at Warner Brothers. There was no specifying what he was going to do. There's some people thinking he's going to run DC Studios. I doubt it.
No, the guy's like 80 years old.
Yeah, he's retired twice, I think.
Yeah.
But that's big.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing. And I don't know, for the first time in a while, I actually feel confident about the future of DC, which is a dangerous thing to do because I've done it 3 times before and I've been disappointed every time.
Mm-hmm.
But David Zaslav really seems to know what he wants to do, and he is actively doing it.
Right. You're either going to jump on board with him or like if you work for the company, you're either going to jump on board with what he's doing or you're going to quit.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a middle ground. Like, well, I don't like what he's doing. And, it seems like Warner Brothers before just never had any real control. There was just a whole bunch of people just randomly coming up with random shit, and somebody was okaying all of it. Like I don't get it. Like I think that same mentality is a fortunate result of why we actually got the Snyder Cut to begin with, because no communication, nobody's on the same page with anything. Like, hey, can we get the Snyder Cut okayed? Sure, why not? 70 million sold. Fired. Chairman is fired. So now I feel like there's going to be a major communication, and he's taking the concept that Marvel did with or that Disney did with Marvel and have it be its own studio, which it always should have been. It always should have been that way. And it shouldn't be, what's that fucking mook name who did the Titans? I'm so bad with names. What's that? Jeff Johns. Thank you.
Jeff Johns.
Yeah, Jeff Johns. Like he was a great comic book writer, great comic storyteller, knew nothing about making movies. Yeah. And they brought him under like, he does comics. He's our new Feige. Feige spent an entire career making movies as well as being a nerd, as opposed to Jeff Johns, who was just always a nerd and got thrown into production. And now I don't like the dude because of his decisions, and that might not necessarily be his fault. He didn't know what he was doing, and obviously I'm not going to hold him to that, but like for a long time I did not like the guy because I thought he was being sneaky. Now I just realized he's just a dope who was just thrown into the fire, and he's just doing his best to keep his head above water. Those are 2 analogies that don't work back to back, by the way, water and fire.
Yeah.
But yep, that's where I sit right now. I agree with you, Seth. I do think moving forward in the DC is looking promising. Big question is, are they going to continue the Snyderverse? Are they going to continue with what has been the theatrical properties that we know? Or are they just going to axe it and say, we're starting over?
I don't know. I mean, obviously I don't know, but like, I could see them going either way. Like, I really could. Both ways make sense to me. Like, I would understand either decision. So it's really hard to say what or predict what they would do. I'll say this.
Yeah.
I think they're going to talk about it. Talk about doing the Snyderverse stuff. And by talk about it, I mean, like, I think they're going to go to Zach and be like, hey, we've had a little ideas, you know, maybe if you wanna do it.
I could see Zach. Well, look who decided to show up at my door. Have a seat, gentlemen. I feel like we're gonna have a long chat.
Exactly.
Maybe they might. I mean, or Zach they might go to Zach and just be like, hey, man, sorry about the last guys. That was bullshit what you went through. We're ready to take you seriously. Like, we'll sign a contract. We'll get this going. Zach, I'm busy with Netflix. Sorry.
Oh, that would hurt.
Okay, this is all hypothetical now, but how do you think fans of Snyder would feel to learn that he turned down to do the Snyderverse? Do you think they would understand, or do you think people would turn on him?
I think they would understand.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there'd be your select few people that would turn on him, but I think a majority of people would be like, this is where we come full circle. This is where it ends. this is where we drop it. You know, we'll support you in everything you're doing, but this is where we drop the Snyderverse thing. You said no to it. Good. All right, cool.
Well, if that were
we'll
ever
sad, we'll be sad, but we respect you.
Well, yeah, but then what are those people going to do, man? They're not going to go away. They're immediately going to change their photos from Zack Snyder to fucking David Ayer. I know it. I know it. And then if that doesn't work out, then Josh Trank, you still might have a chance, buddy, with your fantastic version that we never got. So
that's who they should bring in to direct the MCU Fantastic Four. Give Josh Trank another shot.
Yeah, man, another shot. While he's also taking another shot. Because that kind of was his deal, right?
Yeah.
Drinking on set.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I have, man. Is there anything that I may have missed, Seth, that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about? You have a shit-eating grin on your face.
Nothing you missed, but I want to mention something real quick. I watched Chip and Dale last night.
Oh, no, I'm about to go watch that right now.
I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to spoil anything. That had no right to be as good as it was. Like, that movie is actually good. Like,
gosh, that makes me excited, dude.
I was expecting just like some stupid, dumb, fun movie, and it was actually a good movie.
Dude, I've been quietly super excited about Chip and Dale. Like, I Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, these are the things that I grew up with. I came home every day from school and I turned that shit on. And I had a crush on a little mouse chick in Rescue Rangers, which is weird, some sort of weird bestiality, some sort of animated thing. I don't know. What a weird situation that was. But like, and then when I saw the trailer for this and saw that like they're gonna be like self-aware, you know, like I loved it. You know, hey, what, man? You're not gonna get you're not gonna get the CGI makeover. Like I fucking. Yes, I was on board with it from the get-go, and I'm happy to hear that. Yeah,
I know from the trailer, you know there's going to be like a ton of cartoon cameos and stuff. And obviously, I'm not going to say what any of them are. There's certain things I can't believe they actually put in this movie. Like certain characters where I was just like, there is no way they got the rights to do that. Like,
oh, of course they did. Dude, I'm super excited, dude. I literally, I was going to, after today's show, I was going to break it down like I normally do into smaller segments and put those out for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But then Chip and Dale, that's where I was headed. Chip and Dale.
I'm excited to see your review on it. I actually think you'll enjoy it.
Well, don't hold me to it. The Chip and Dale one you can hold me to, but I've 3 movies that I wanted to review this weekend. Chip and Dale, Doctor Strange, the first Doctor Strange, and Top Gun.
Oh.
Well, number one, because I did watch Doctor Strange the other night, and that's the third time I've watched that movie, and I absolutely loved it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it that much the first two times. Like the first time, I didn't really like it. The second time, I think I was drinking, and I don't even remember like the second half of it. But then when I watched it the other night, dude, I was like, dude, this is a fucking great movie, man. Like I really enjoyed it, and I think it had to do with the fact that I'd watched it after watching the Multiverse of Madness. Like I was a little bit more invested into the character. But yeah, I really did enjoy it. It's a little fast paced, but anyway. I'm not doing the review right now, but then Top Gun, I just have no interest in it at all. I've never found it interesting, but I'll watch it. I'll see if I can do a review on it. We'll see. I don't know, but definitely Chip and Dale. It's definitely one that's I'm going to do. Let's see. We got one more comment here. Looking forward to your Chip and Dale's review. Oh, thank you. Now, just to be clear, it's not Chip and Dale. It's the Chip and Dales. It's the male dancers. That's what I'm reviewing. Seth, do you even get that joke?
Nope.
Okay. Chippendales is the name of a male strip club.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was named that before the cartoon came out, so you sit on that.
Oh, that's actually kind of funny.
All right, Jimbo, thank you for chiming in. Jimbo, thank you for joining us in the comments, along with everyone else who joined us in the comments. Derpy Gaming, he's just here for quality content. Cody Ray, I appreciate you joining in as well. Seth, my man, thank you. I appreciate your time with us here. And I guess we'll be back on Monday. Yeah, Monday. Sorry, I'm looking for something. Seth, tell them that joke, you know.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Stay trigger happy, my friends.